military official who ran the covert government program up until this last November, Luis Elizondo. Luis, thank you so much for your time tonight. I mean, first, tell us what the purpose of the program was and why it was so secretive.
Sure. The purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that.
It's like X-Files on the television. You've got government officials talking about UFOs. You've seen this guy on all the major networks, NBC, Fox News, talking about UFOs, talking about aliens. But what are they talking about behind the scenes?
I remember the conversation very well. This is a person I respected tremendously, very, very senior person. He's told me, he said, Lou, I want you to stop doing this. I said, okay, sir, I certainly can, but may I ask why? And he says, well, we already know what it is. Now, at that moment, I honestly thought maybe it was our own technology. I was running up against some super uber secret SAP, and, they were telling me to stop. And I said, okay, sir, so it's ours? And he said, no, that's not what I'm saying. And he said, he asked me point blank, have you read your Bible lately? And I wasn't quite sure where he was going with that. And I said, well, sir, I think I know what it says. Where are you going with this? And he said, well, then you would know that these things are demonic and we should not be pursuing them.
So behind the scenes, they're saying it's the pages of the Bible playing out before our very eyes. But on the mainstream news, they're like, these are UFOs. They're flying at 100,000 miles an hour. We've got the videos. We've got the radar. And you've got these shady government reports coming out saying, oh, no, there's nothing to worry about, even though it looks like they live on the television. And it looks like they're trying to wipe out humanity with their extermination program. So what's going on? Ladies and gentlemen, that is the question. What is really going on in the universe? What's going on planet Earth? What's going on in America? What does the Pentagon know? When did they know it? Oh, you could be here all day talking about Roswell, talking about the things that we think we know, or the things that we think we don't know. And everybody has their own opinion on what's going on. The Earth is flat, the Earth is round, we're all alone, there's aliens, they're all demons. And so you're never going to satisfy everybody with a discussion on what's going on. And most of us are skeptics anyways, so as soon as you say something, some people will have light bulbs, other people will have red flags. But we're going to attempt this discussion anyways and try to do it in a way that works out for everybody. Does that work? Is that possible? Can you please everybody all the time? We've been talking about faces from another dimension. The Pentagon is talking about demons. The Bible tells us that demons or devils possess people. They body snatch people. They take over. The person becomes like an avatar. Fingers and hands in this world, controlled by intelligence from another world. What does that mean? Are these the aliens that we're fighting against? Is this the alien invasion that we're up against? Creatures from another dimension, the fifth dimension? What does that mean? What does that mean when they're taking over people, possessing people? How many people are possessed? What have they taken over? Have they taken over the entire government? Have they taken over the Pentagon? Have they taken over your neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, the video guy. I knew the video guy was going to mess this up. I knew it. Fire the video guy. Now, we've got a bunch of human collaborators walking amongst with us. Listen to this woman, to this thing.
Because their real connection is actually to those intelligences out there than actually the human beings that they're operating or sharing their environment with.
Learned about. Oh. So we've got a lot of people out there having paranormal experiences with aliens and other things. And it turns out that these people feel like they have more in common with the aliens than with humans. And so they turn. But just about every alien abduction story or alien encounter that's on the record isn't a UFO beaming somebody up for some type of medical experiment. Most of the encounters are like psychic encounters. They're like phantoms, visions, dreams. The encounters are spiritual in nature and not physical. And the collaborators will say that they're in communication with these spiritual creatures. Since Plato and maybe before, up to and including Isaac Newton, Aleister Crowley, many others, they all claim that they're having communications with creatures from another world, telepathic communications. And they can see them in a visual way, but not in a physical way. So what does that mean? Where do these things come from? Now, you could say that these aliens are... The video guy's fired again. Totally fired. Fire the video guy. You could say these aliens are from another planet on the other side. The video guy. You could say that these aliens are from another planet on the other side of the universe, and they're communicating to us via telepathic means or psychotronic means or with some kind of subspace projector or something. Of course, you know where most people are when it comes to that. There's no aliens, there's no universe, and there's nothing beyond the dome. We don't know that, to be quite honest. The dome or the firmament is described as a canopy, as a tent. It's also described as the heavens. And it's also described as multiple heavens, so we could be looking at multiple dimensions. Where does the second heaven begin? Where does it end? They talk about the outer darkness, being cast out into the outer darkness, into the dump, into the graveyard, into hell. Where is hell exactly? Is it at the center of the planet? Has it devolved into another dimension? A parallel universe, a parallel world? And so, no human really knows. What we do know, according to Genesis, is that this world was created by the Almighty. And so the physical world comes from the spiritual world. And between these two worlds is a veil, a barrier, a skin, if you will. If we could see under the skin, we'd probably freak out. That's why the skin is there. If we could see beyond the physical skin of the world, we would freak out. That's why it's there. But many of us feel like we're in the Matrix as well. And that isn't far from the truth, essentially. We're in a physical, constructed reality. But instead of ones and zeros, it's protons and electrons. Instead of Westworld robots, we're like organic robots. In a physical world, avatars for the spiritual world. Now here we can see someone that is clearly demonically possessed. You can see the devil horns on their forehead. They've all got this demonic tint to them. You'll see this type of paranormal activity often enough in broad daylight. These are obviously avatars for the dark side. They're controlled by demonic forces. Behind the avatars are the demons. What are the demons? What are the devils? Genesis chapter 6, ladies and gentlemen. And so this is a war that we can't even imagine. We can't even really imagine the scope of this war. But we're right in the middle of it. In this constructed reality that was made for the spiritual world. This is like their matrix, in a sense. When we think of a matrix, when we think of a matrix from the perspective of the physical world, we think of it in a digital format. But this is the matrix for the spiritual world, in a physical format. And the evil forces that we're up against is essentially like a buffet, an all-you-can-eat buffet. We've featured some of these faces from another dimension. There are many faces from this other dimension, from this other world that we see over and over again. Some look like demons, some look like devils, some look like aliens, like greys and reptilians. But it seems like they're all in some other world. We don't see them walking around in the flesh looking like aliens in this world, as far as we can tell. Maybe some people have a different experience. But we've been talking about some of these faces that show up on flat surfaces, shiny surfaces, reflective surfaces. What are we seeing here? Is it just a reflection, or is it something else on top of that reflection with these dark mirrors, these scrying mirrors? Now, we've been talking about this in a previous broadcast as far as what are people seeing in these scrying mirrors. What does it mean?
Because their real connection is actually
Video
to
guy.
those intelligences out there, that actually the human beings that they're operating or sharing their environment with.
Interference from the Matrix, to say the least. How many of you have had paranormal experiences? How many of you have seen shadow people, or what looks like weird shadows that are there 1 second and gone the next? How many of you have seen the aliens for yourselves? They're out there. But part of the illusion of this world is everything that's physical and secular. The TV, the news, the job, the significant other, the shopping and the like. So many people don't have time to explore the metaphysical. And of course, we're not talking about Ouija boards and scrying mirrors, because that would be a transgression. But it's worth noting that everyone has a scrying mirror in their possession their phone, their laptop. So you may not go out and buy one, but you already did. And you may not be looking for this kind of trouble, but it's looking for everyone. It's looking for you. And if you feel like there's something wrong with the world, it's because of this aspect to it, where the spiritual is interfering, you could say, with what's going on in this world, in this West world of organic robots, in this constructed reality. It's right there in the DNA. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you know, the dark side will try and sell it to you as the Big Bang and all of that, the devolution from monkeys and the like. But it's impossible. The DNA tells us that it's impossible. We're in a constructed reality. We didn't just show up here. We were put here. And we keep coming back. That's in the Bible as well. At least some people keep coming back. I'm not sure everybody keeps coming back. There are many things we don't know. Do some people go to the dump, to the outer darkness, and they become these demons? We don't know. Do they all go to hell immediately? We think so. But it's super freaky out there these days. And the reason that it's super freaky is because these things are attacking us from their world in our world. And we can see it, not as robots, but as free-thinking people. And we can tell that all of these people on television are worshiping the devil, and they're trying to usher in this beast system trying to enslave humanity and merge us with the machines and the like. We can tell there's something terribly wrong with where things are right now in terms of politics and current events. But why is that? It's because it's a war. It's not just a physical war. It's a spiritual war. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness from heavenly places, from another world, from another universe. And so, how do we fight back? How do we resist? How do we identify the enemy? Those are some questions that you could ask. Why would you want to identify the enemy? Because it's a war.
I remember the conversation very well. This is a person I respected tremendously. Very, very senior.
Not really hate him, but today is just not. It's not a good day for the video guy. So, how do we fight back? How do we identify the enemy? How do we protect ourselves? The Bible tells us that without faith, we are like a city without walls. That any evil spirit can come in and take over. Many people have been assimilated. Many people have been body snatched. Many people are avatars for the dark matrix. So before you can put a mask on somebody else, an oxygen mask on somebody else, you have to put on the mask yourself. You have to help yourself before you can help others. And so essentially, the best way to protect yourself is not to get vaccinated, but it's to know the Bible. Know what it says. Know that it's serious. That's your best form of protection, is an education. And the rest kind of takes care of itself, essentially. Here's another evil-looking picture. You can see two faces here. You can see the faces in the clouds. You can see the face on the moon. And so we just kind of take for granted when two eyes and a nose and a mouth come together with emotion. When you can read the emotion off its face, we just think that's some kind of normal thing, like a face in the cloud, but it's something else. There's something else going on. And that's what people need to understand. This picture here was taken from the Burgas bombing. It's like a terror event. And essentially, people were killed, and we see this demonic face on the shiny surface of the marble floor. looking at us like through a window. These things are observing, they're watching, they're orchestrating the events that are happening in this world, like 9/11, like the pandemic. That's how they get away with it. That's how they get away with all of this stuff. We had some video of 9/11 where you can see the devil in the smoke, but that video is just gone. In any case, there's tons of video out there of demons appearing, making an appearance on television. They look physical. We don't know if these are real aliens or not. We don't know if real aliens exist or not. Many people are going to say, no, it's demons. It's all demons. They're all here all the time. Which could be the case, but we could be looking at demons and aliens, and who knows what else. I think it's probably premature to rule anything out at this stage. But there's endless videos of what looks like clones, what looks like aliens, what looks like shapeshifters. And there's numerous accounts of, reptilians in the physical world being like 10 feet tall from the Andromeda Galaxy. We've seen and heard all of the stories. And so you don't really know. But people that have had an alien encounter pretty much all say that these aliens are like phantoms. That they show up at night for the most part. And so it seems like a psychic experience more than a physical experience. But there's other paranormal activity on top of that, intermingled with the demonic alien phenomenon. It's not just aliens and demons. There's all sorts of things that we can't even really understand that have a constantly shifting morphology, like a twinkling star or an amoeba and the like. There's all sorts of things out there running around, and we just don't understand everything that's going on. But something is happening. It looks like they live on the television. And we know that the government has been co-opted, totally taken over. And they're running a major disinformation campaign when it comes to what's going on out there. Every once in a while we get some interesting information, like they know it's demonic forces. They know it's the pages of the Bible playing out before your very eyes. And yet, they're like grooming children in schools. It's Sodom and Gomorrah everywhere. And so not only do they know that this is going on, they're like worshiping it. They want it to be this way. They're totally taken over. The Bible tells us that we have power and dominion over the dark side. We just have to exercise our right. It's like free speech. If you give up that right, then you lose that right. You have dominion over these evil creatures. But you have to exercise your right, and you have to know what your rights are. And it's right there in the Bible. But you also have to know what your responsibilities are, what the requirements are to be a Christian. And that's in the Bible as well. The Old Testament and the New Testament. And if you were going to be a perfect practitioner of your faith, you would know all of the books in the Bible. It wouldn't just be a couple passages here and there. And so we recommend that everyone takes the time to listen to what's going on in the Bible, either by listening to it in the audio format or by reading it. But faith comes from the spoken word.
Because their real connection is actually to those
Video guy.
intelligences out there than actually the human beings that they're operating or
Nothing but interference.
Sharing their environment.
Nothing but interference from the Matrix in this broadcast. But once you understand what's going on, that the physical world is a ripple effect, essentially, of the spiritual world, then you start seeing how the Matrix operates. Then you can see the interference for what it is. You can see these people around you essentially for what they are. You can tell them by their fruits. But the secular world is a certain way. It's not your imagination. They're eating children. They're molesting children. They're worshiping the devil so that they can continue to operate in that network. But we're up against a real enemy. And you can call them aliens, you can call them demons, but there's a lot going on, and it's probably happening in a much more complicated way than, humans can imagine. In a sense. We're like ants in the ant farm. And we only have a certain perspective to what's going on. And as soon as we start limiting ourselves to predefined theories, then that's the limit of our understanding and our imagination. So it's important not to rule anything out. I know a lot of people are really set on a certain geometry when it comes to the universe or the world, but it might be more complicated than that. And until you can go verify it for yourself, then you should really keep an open mind to parallel universes, other dimensions, infinite universes, multiple infinite universes, and the like. It seems like we're in the world of the living, and on the opposite side is the world of the dead. A shadow world, another world, where these demons roam. But, they might be in multiple locations. There might be different classes of demons at different locations and different points of space and time. And until we can rule anything out for sure, we should understand that it's possible. You're given weapons and protection of other sorts in the Bible as well. How you manifest those into the physical world and into the spiritual world is part of the journey. But as Christians, we're called to manifest what's in the Bible into our physical world and in our spiritual endeavors. And so we're called to preach the gospel. We're called to heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, and to cast out demons. Now, given that, all of these sheeple out there are pretty much dead anyways, if we can get a few of them, then that's like raising the dead. And as far as casting out demons, we know that once you cast them out, they come back with a gang. And so the only way to really protect that person is to save them spiritually. And that is another battle. But that's where we should be focusing on in our local communities as much as we can, given the current situation. But you can go further than that. Some people are full-blown exorcists out there, and the limits are their imagination. How far can you go on this road, on this narrow road How far can you go? Ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you want to start seeing the paranormal for yourself, and we're not talking about Ouija boards or scrying mirrors or anything like that, just go to bed without the electronics. Turn off the television. Turn off the computer. Turn off all the lights. Pitch black. Go to bed by yourself and start paying attention to your surroundings. And as you fall asleep, remember, it's not your imagination. You'll be seeing things. If you're a believer. If you've left doubt behind. And that's where most people are kind of stuck. They're stuck with the devolution. They're stuck with the Big Bang. Leave it all behind. They're stuck with what somebody said on ScrewTube. They're stuck with some kind of, far-fetched fun fact from an atheist out there. Oh, what about the Sumerian tablets? The dark side can tell the future. They knew Moses was coming. They knew Jesus was coming. They knew. That's why divination is illegal. They can make it seem like they knew because they did. And so they put out disinformation in many different ways. So don't let that keep you back, keep you down. Don't wallow in the mire. Keep moving forward. We're going to have to leave it there for this broadcast. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Like and share. Let everybody know where we're at. This is Stranger Than Fiction News. On Telegram at STFN Report. On BitChute at alien.wars because it's like they live on the television. And on Stranger Than Fiction News on Rumble. So we could talk about this for hours. But just leave doubt behind. Spend some time in the Bible. Faith comes from the spoken word. Manifest what's in the Bible in the physical world as much as you can. Everything that you can. And every time you do that, you're making ripple effects. Till the next time, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.